Hello and welcome to our Material Concerns Holiday Bonanza.
I'm going to get X-rated real fast.
I realized no
Which
idea what
please
Bonanza
after
means.
8. The way that you are pronouncing Bonanza is
What do you say
fucking
it?
incredible.
Bonanza.
Yeah.
Bonanza.
Bonanza, like banana
Bonanza.
with a Z.
Bonanza.
Okay, this episode is featuring our Which Please Productions team. So I think we should start with some intros, and that means name and what you do for Which Please Productions. And we're going to go in order of how the videos are lined up for me personally. And this is a subtle pitch for you listeners to go find us on YouTube because you can go to Oh Which Please on YouTube and like see how we are, like how we look. It's really fun.
We dressed thematically.
We dressed.
We did.
Oh yeah, you
good
can
idea.
describe what you're wearing. We're going to start with Marcelle. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you wearing?
Hi, everybody. My name is Marcelle. I am the co-host of Material Girls. I take turns with Hannah McGregor writing scripts and making jokes. And I'm wearing a pink velour, like a hot bubblegum pink velour romper that I bought last Boxing Day for $30 from Smash and Tess. Oh, and I also am the co-host of Gender Playground, a podcast about the joys of gender affirming care for kids.
Woohoo! Okay, Gaby, you're next.
Hello, I'm Gaby. I write our newsletters. I edit and co-produce Making Worlds. I am wearing a pink Henley situation that used to be my friend Eleanor's. I think it's from Aerie, like 7 years ago. I'm rocking a cat scratch from my kitten.
It's so severe, Gaby.
It looks like someone tried to kill me and failed by about 4 inches.
And that someone was named Linus.
So true. Anyway, that's me.
Zoe, you're next.
Hello, I'm Zoe. I am
The
marketing.
most elegant of the team.
Classic
by far.
Zoe.
Hello,
I'm Zoe.
hello. My name is Zoe Mix. I am marketing designer and social media manager and producer of Making Worlds. And currently, I'm wearing a Grinch-colored sweater. I took the skin of the Grinch to make this sweater.
Love that.
So that's me.
Hannah McGregor, you're next.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Hannah McGregor. I co-host Material Girls and I host Making Worlds, which is a video podcast about the radical potential of imagining the world otherwise via genres like sci-fi and fantasy. And I am wearing a chartreuse cheetah print sweater dress from rural Ontario lesbian clothing designer Red Sky Designs. If you like your clothes designed by a lesbian who's much taller than you, may I recommend Red Sky Designs. I always have to roll up the sleeves.
Coach, what about you?
I'm Coach, or you may know me on the streets as Hannah Rehack. If you run into me in the world, that's
Hannah
how you
Rehack, if you're nasty.
if you're nasty. And I'm the executive producer of Material Girls and also of Gender Playground. I oversee that. And work with Reese, our lovely producer who co-produces that show, and make sure people get paid.
You're the executive producer of the entire production.
Making Worlds as well.
Mhm.
I know, but what if I
Yeah.
say shebang and you guys drag me for the way I say that?
Yeah, it's
Shebang.
actually pronounced shebang. Thank you.
Shebang.
And I am wearing, I wish I was wearing a jersey, but I'm not. I am wearing a pink Material Girls sweatshirt that I think I got a year ago. Must have been a year ago from our merch
great.
shop. And I love it. And it's a really pretty pale pink. It's a little washed out in this, but in reality, it's awesome. And that's everything. Okay, so this episode is going to consist of a couple of different things, a few different things, I should say. We're going to have round table questions. That means everybody gets to answer, which means we also have questions that I will direct specifically to certain people.
In an accusatory way or like?
Just wait. We're also going to have trivia from our Spotify Wrapped. you all will be competing.
Oh,
Then there'll be questions about Wicked that we received from our listeners on
Ah.
Instagram. And then there will be some questions from the wheel. And I'll explain the wheel later when I feel like it.
what a bossy bitch.
Which I will explain when I feel like it.
Yeah.
Is something I will be using when teaching.
when I feel like it. It's
This
going
is
to
an
come
example of cultural capital, which I will be explaining when I feel like it.
When I decide it's
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So,
When daddy decides.
yes. Oh, I'm daddy today, for sure. For sure. But I want to take a minute to remind you all that you being in this room, that this episode's going to come out after our episode with Lena Norms about Wicked comes out. This will come out after our Christmas Eve episode with Lena Norms. That's about Wicked. So it's going to come out in the new year. But that's why we're talking about Wicked now. So just for Zoe and Gaby specifically, I'm wondering, Hannah, if you can, in brief, explain what our episode with Lena was about. Just quickly.
Okay, so we talked about Wicked in the context of paratext and intertext. So Lena talked about the novel, which she has studied and which she's particularly interested in, how it's dealing internally with its intertextual relationship to the Wizard of Oz. And then we talked about this movie being an adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation. And then we used a scholar who writes about filmic paratext, who basically argues that the same way that Gerard Jeanette said we need to think about book cover and font choice and acknowledgements as part of this is what he means by paratext. It's part of the threshold through which you enter into a text. You never sort of encounter it in isolation. So, the scholar is arguing that in the same way that we need to think about book paratext, we also have to think about film paratext. And that includes things like the previous film work of the actor, who the director is, but also what are the trailers? What's the marketing material? And so then we were talking about this particular marketing campaign was so widespread and so intentionally variegated based on the understanding that there isn't really a monoculture anymore. So you have to reach people in a lot of different places, that it then means that people are coming into the movie with a wildly different lens, depending on which paratextual threshold they entered it via, essentially. And then we did close reading of some of the various paratexts to understand them and how they were framing the movie. So we talked about the Holding Space for the Lyrics of Defying Gravity interview and the finger hold. We talked about the online discourse around the fan-edited poster and Cynthia Erivo's response to the fan-edited poster that covered her face.
Gabby, Zoe, you guys get it?
Yeah.
So you guys
get
it?
Yeah. I'm ready for the quiz.
Good.
So now I thought it would be good for listeners to know where everyone stands when it comes to Wicked without actually getting into any sort of argument. So I just shared, or not argument, but tussling through. So let me know if you can open up this Google Doc because we're going to do a reading of our Slack conversation.
Oh no.
Okay, this is the first one. This is from November 25th. I loved every second of Wicked.
I suspect I will too.
I adore the musical and wanted to have more fun. But you know what I unabashedly adored? Jonathan Bailey. What a talent. I was very upset by how thin the two leads were.
Very hard to look at Ariana for me, but she was so much funnier than I expected.
The first ad at Gladiator 2 was for Ozempic. We are not okay socially, spiritually, politically, etc.
Oh yeah, there was one before Wicked as well.
This is the audio version of my next thing.
Great. I think that kind of touches on everything, but then from a little later on.
I'm afraid people will be mad at me if I'm mean about the movie tonight.
I haven't seen the film, so I'll just be speaking on how much I love the musical. Ha ha.
I think it's okay to be honest about what you didn't like about it. I assume you're not going to tell those of us who loved it that we're stupid for liking it. People tolerate me hating on Cuarón's Prisoner of Azkaban.
I agree that nobody is stupid for liking it.
Wicked is simply your Prisoner of Azkaban, Gaby.
Sometimes you just don't vibe with something, and that's okay. Heart.
So then I said everyone is calling it that, but what I was saying that too was to Wicked is simply my Prisoner of Azkaban. Everyone is calling it that.
Oh, round of applause, you guys.
Flawless. Flawlessly
Incredible.
done.
Do you
Incredible.
agree? Do you all agree? You can say yes or no that kind of sums up where we're all at.
I want to add that on Saturday, November 23rd at 10:32 p.m., the record states that I said that I watched Wicked tonight and did not like it, but also had fun.
Okay.
That's my main opinion.
I'm really sorry I missed that, Gaby.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. And it's for that reason that we're going to respond to listener questions, but that's also why we're doing trivia. That's also why I have directed questions. So here's our first directed question, and it's from a Quaker witch, and it's for Marcelle and myself to answer.
Oh,
And you'll see why. Because why argue? It's why is it such a perfect film? So like,
Gaby?
we'll answer. No, Marcelle.
Sorry, that was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke.
You
I'm
guys
not
aren't
funny.
stupid for liking it.
Thank
You're
you.
not.
Thank you. So let's just pretend it's a perfect film, and Marcelle and I, who loved it, can answer why.
Yeah.
Coach, do you want to go first or
I
do
can
you
go
want me to
first.
Okay.
Okay, it's a perfect film. I mean, of course, Marcelle and I did not think it was a perfect film, but I did have a perfect viewing experience. Well, I shouldn't speak for you, Marcelle. My viewing experience really influenced it. I went with two friends of mine at 10:45 in the morning, and the theater was full of families, specifically like largely Black couples and parents with their children. And so there were like a lot of like young girls in princess dresses. So just naming that per the paratext, conversation or like things that we were bringing into it. So just setting that up. And then I just thought like the music was so beautiful. And that's definitely what I was listening for. And I just felt like we got close-ups. I mean, obviously, because it's films, like we got close-ups where we can't in theater. And I just thought they were like really well positioned. And so we like got to see so much more of their interior life. And I thought Cynthia Erivo was magnificent. And I thought Ariana Grande, as said on Slack, was so funny. And I like don't think of the Wicked the musical as being a comedy because it's kind of a mess of a stage musical. Even though I love it, it is kind of like all over the place, and it's like funny in the way like musicals can be funny. But I was like, this is a full on comedy. And so that offered something different to me than my experience of the stage musical in a way that was so fun. It was like, oh, I want to escape to this. And I will say for me, it was very similar to like how the Harry Potter movies used to feel. And I've seen that echoed. And you all talked about that, I think maybe on the episode or maybe we talked about it in a perk, but just like also the sort of like scope of it. And then of course on second viewing, notice the bad lighting and notice that it's a little dulled and all these other things. But for me, if it was a perfect film, that would be why. Marcelle, I hand it off to you.
Okay. So for me, it was a perfect film because I knew that this was a massively beloved stage musical I'd never seen, never had the opportunity to see. And so for me, going to see the movie, I felt like I got to be part of something in this way that like felt really good. Like I understood the story. If it had things that were nods to fans of the stage musical, they were either done in such a way that I didn't feel left out, or I was able to tell from the reactions of other people what was happening. And so it felt very much like everyone is allowed to love this thing now. Come and participate in this thing. It felt very magical. I drank the Kool-Aid. I guzzled it. I guzzled that Kool-Aid from my enormous Wicked branded popcorn bucket.
Okay, that's a perfect segue to a question for everyone. It's a roundtable question, you guys. Okay, this is a question from Joannie Sharpie. What's the worst bit of movie tie-in merch that you've seen?
For me, it's got to be the misprinted box that takes you to a porn site.
Wait, what is it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Were they like dolls or something?
Yeah.
And the
Barbies?
website,
Were they Barbies?
Maybe
I
they
think
were
it was Barbies.
They were Barbies.
Yeah. And the link on the back took you to porn instead of the Wicked movie website, which I think is really funny. This is why you can't fucking trust AI, okay?
You're right.
If a human with eyes and a brain had looked at that fucking package, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the kids.
I'm worried for the children. They're our future.
I don't care. I'll be dead.
Wow.
So
Whoa. Wow. You'll be dead when?
Well, we all will be.
hopefully when the solar flare comes, I'll be dead. But
Bruh.
This is a side of Zoe I never get to see ever, ever,
I
ever.
don't worry about the kids having access to porn because when the solar flare comes, I'll be dead.
sure.
A perfect sentiment, actually.
It's also perfect for a holiday bonanza.
A bonanza.
I can't think of any one bit of merchandise that was really egregious, but I feel like it was the sheer amount of it that really turned me off. Like, that made me not want to see the movie. Honestly, just like the sheer amount of like products and all this stuff. It was like, oh my God. I felt like it was 6 months of us getting all this like lead up to a film. And that bothered me.
The head of marketing for Universal said that their goal was to be just short of obnoxious.
They were just tall of it, I'd say.
Like,
just tall.
They were tall enough to ride that ride.
You guys passed obnoxious a few months ago.
Yeah, no worries. Mission fucking accomplished.
Honestly, I don't know where I've been for the last 6 months because the first Wicked merch that I've seen was at Lush this weekend.
Like the soap place?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing.
No, it's just kooky to me that you're like, it's not everywhere. It's at Lush.
But like I was in Lush buying a thing and then I was like, oh my gosh, they've got a little Wicked shelf. Oh my goodness. And then I was excited about it.
Yeah.
What stuff was it?
An Emerald City shaped green soap, a pink bubble wand, little witches hats, one that's pink and one that's black.
Okay.
I want to like cut to Marcelle's bathroom and it's just like every type of soap, like the entire Emerald City.
No, I'm not a sucker. I definitely did buy one of each.
I could stop anytime I wanted.
I could stop anytime.
That sounds very cute though.
So going back to the way in which the media and the marketing team is like going into each and every corner, it's like all over my scrolly feeds. But I guess the only places that I normally shop are grocery stores right now.
Or is it the kind of thing where it's like, you know, when you learn a word, then you hear it everywhere. And so like your investment in the story was like not high enough to be clocking it versus like if you're a fan. Actually, Zoe, are you a fan of the musical to begin with?
Yes.
You are. Okay. So like, you know, that kind of thing, like maybe like now you're seeing, not to deny your reality, but like
just what? I was clocking it. I said a year ago I was excited about this movie. And I have also seen almost no marketing.
Interesting.
Wow.
Like in my actual, like I've sought out a ton of it because I was preparing for this episode. So I've seen the range of it. But in terms of the way I encounter marketing on a day-to-day basis, I'm actually very hard to market to because I encounter very little advertising. Like I take the bus to work and like BC interior bus ads are for like mostly government stuff. Like there's very few. If there is, it's like a pizza restaurant. We don't really have like buses that have big movie posters on the sides of them. Like that's an American pop culture thing in my head. Like I think maybe I saw a Wicked makeup palette. But like,
you're like, I think maybe I bought 5 to 6 Wicked makeup palettes.
I think it's possible that I own every possible Wicked makeup palette. I mean, once I see the stuff, I want it. But like, it is making me think about, because like we talk about this in the classes that we teach in the publishing program about marketing, that it's like, actually right now, it's unbelievably hard to figure out how to reach people. Because
don't I know it?
Yeah, you know, you do this. It's like, where the fuck are people? Like, where do you actually find anybody? There's no central spaces to advertise to people. So that's why they like went with this really sort of ubiquitous approach. But yeah, no, maybe they just didn't bother in Canada.
Maybe they didn't bother. They're like, no one lives there.
Do you have one, Coach?
My friends and I were making a lot of jokes about the popcorn buckets that in it now has a new, and I like love it so much. I love that you bought it, like truly, Marcelle. Where it was like my friend Nina was getting us tickets and was like no worries, guys, got us the $68 snack pack combo that comes with this, you know, whatever. And we're like, ha ha ha, no way, like, but it was because it's really expensive and it's like a piece of plastic or whatever. Yeah. But I love that I know someone who got it because I know you're going to use it. I know I can picture your little kids and their grubby little fingers.
Sorry, I'm looking at Google Images and there's a bunch of different popcorn buckets. So I'm going to actually now need some clarification about what popcorn bucket you bought, Marcelle.
Well, I'll show you on my phone. I'll put my phone up to the.
Yeah, that would be great.
While Marcelle clarifies, I have an honorable mention for worst piece of merchandising, and it's the surprise macaroni and cheese.
Oh yeah, I heard about this on a
Did you guys
podcast.
see that?
No.
Where it's like you buy a box, I think it's Walmart branded. You buy a box and you don't know what color cheese that you're gonna get.
Ew.
It's either bright green or bright pink. And that to me makes me want to walk into the ocean.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's disgusting.
Well, this is not related. This is just me finishing the thought. I was going to say, though, with the popcorn, I can't think of one that was really bad, but where I remember seeing a piece of merchandise where I was like, what the hell? Was at LaGuardia, which is the airport in New York that I tend to go to. And that felt absurd to me for some reason. That felt like an extra level. Like I'm so used to like bus ads and Times Square and like, not like I'm in Times Square all the time, but like, you know, that kind of scale. I just like had just gone through security and then there was like a Wicked thing. And I was like, that's like, what are we doing here? Like,
on the side of security, I should be safe from capitalism. She says, walking through the duty free.
Grabbing my Toblerones.
6 or 7 Toblerones.
Do you guys see this picture of this white woman looking absolutely fucking jazzed? This is,
Yeah.
This is basically a picture of me buying the popcorn.
Okay, gotcha.
Will you take a selfie with it for our Instagram when you're free to do that, Marcelle?
yeah, take a selfie with that selfie of that woman.
With your bucket.
Not of the bucket, just yeah. So it's like that one.
Okay, so without context, who would like to spin the wheel?
Me. I want to.
Okay, great. So this is our wheel that we're using on Gender Playground to keep things playful.
Is it the same question?
It's the exact same one. So in season 2 of Gender Playground, which hasn't come out yet, we're in our intro segments. We're having our guests spin a wheel that has like just a goofy question on it just to like keep things light and chatty in the beginning.
I'm going to spin it. What was something you believed as a kid for too long? Okay, the thing that comes to mind, it's not quite something I believed as a kid. It's something that I didn't realize until embarrassingly late. Which is, I have a lot more of those because I don't, like my parents didn't lie to me about stuff. But I still vividly remember being 17 years old and standing in a kitchen with a friend and being like, oh, I'll grab a saucepan to heat up the sauce. And in that moment, being like, whoa.
Wait, I don't get it.
Did you guys realize it's called a saucepan?
Oh.
Because you cook sauce in it.
I don't think I've ever thought about that, Hannah. And I'm 32. That's the kind of thing that always reveals itself to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Did you know that a microwave is called a microwave because of the microwaves of radiation?
No, that's what I mean. Like I've never thought about it. Like
Come on.
but if you ask, like ask me one. Like ask me one instead. No, you told me one. Like think of one and then be like, what do you think that means? Because if you'd said that about microwave, I've been like, oh, like small waves of radiation.
Why?
But I just have never thought about it.
Why do you think a 4-door car is called a sedan?
Because you gotta sit down.
It's the same name as the type of carriage that they would carry wealthy and royalty people. A sedan.
That they would carry what?
Wealthy people or royalty in. It's called a sedan.
Your monarchy is showing.
Right, seriously.
Well, you guys call them sedans too.
American
I thought it was a rickshaw.
A rickshaw is different, right? American rate.
A rickshaw is different because that's one
Why don't we
person
call it a
pulling
rickshaw?
something with 2 wheels. Because a rickshaw only has 2 wheels, Coach.
I had no idea.
Me neither.
That's
Okay,
amazing.
I'm trying to think
This
of
wasn't a good
another one
example.
where it's
It wasn't a
like
good example.
the name of the thing is in the thing. And now that I'm trying to think of one, like what they call it, a bookshelf.
How about like a refrigerator?
Because you refrigerate things? You refrigerate things again?
This is a scholarly podcast.
Gaby, you mind your manners.
No, I'm part of the problem.
Book smart, but not smart in other ways.
I'm not
I
even
just,
book
like-
smart.
I just haven't thought about it. A bedspread. You spread it over your bed.
Bedspread.
You know
Here's
what I
the
mean?
thing. Here's the thing that I believed until way too long.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that being a good artist meant that you were a good person.
Whoa, wait.
I thought that for
I gotta
way
lay
too
down.
long.
I gotta lay down.
Ooh.
Okay.
I got a lot of people I gotta fall out of love with. Whoa. Shit.
Anyway, saucepan.
Microphone, because it's a tiny phone. I mean, it doesn't really.
It's not, though.
It's not though.
It doesn't work for everything, I'm learning.
Oh my God. Telephone and microphone share the root of phonus, which is
and
just
that's
sound.
Right. So then you like get into Latin. But I don't know, like I never thought about the Beatles being a pun. That's a pun. But like I
that
never
is
thought
a
about
pun.
it. I was like, yeah.
Whoa, Gaby, there we go.
Dude, right? Because you just grow up with it. Because you just don't think about it. That's what I mean. You're just like, I don't know, the Beatles, the band.
Yeah. It's actually a very embarrassing name when you think about it.
Wow, that rocked my world.
Those idiots.
That was really good. Okay, good job spinning the wheel, Hannah.
Fun wheel.
Thanks.
Okay, trivia time. Zoe, you're up against Gaby.
Great.
No, don't pit the young ones against each other.
You have to pit the young ones against each other.
What was our most popular episode in 2024? Here are your 3 options. But this is on Spotify specifically, because that's where I'm getting all the information. Okay, Twilight by Girl Culture with Jackson Bird, Gilmore Girls by Norm Porn with Karen Tongson, or Disney by Pinkwashing.
Ooh.
Twilight.
I think Twilight as well.
Fantastic. And then Hannah and Marcelle, do you want to go on record guessing just for fun, even though you can't win or lose points?
I think I'm also going to guess Twilight because Jackson has like a huge following.
I'm going to go on a limb and say Gilmore Girls.
Well, neither Zoe nor Gaby were correct. Hannah McGregor was right. Can't win points, but it was Gilmore Girls by Norm Porn with Karen Tongson.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen Tongson also has a really significant following.
It was really good.
You know, I think it was maybe part of our International Women's Month push or something.
Yes,
like that.
it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, it was our We're all cackling at the it's part of our internet. Listeners are like, you did a what?
There's so much that you don't know.
There's so much
we
you
just
don't know.
we just told Spotify because
Like,
they like
yo.
they like look for things to promote.
It's giving Little Women. The like women.
My Little Women, says Spotify, posting a picture of our podcast.
Spotify is mostly run by algorithm now. And so
Yeah.
that makes sense that we're like, this is for Women's History Month or whatever.
Okay.
And it's like, okay.
I'm surprised that the episode about athleisure wasn't one of our more popular ones because I feel
Anna and
like,
Peterson?
yeah, that one also ran during the Women's Month thing, right?
It is one of ours across all platforms.
Got it. Okay.
Fantastic. We're back to wicked questions. This person was asking specifically about the movie, of course, but I feel like we should just broaden it. Oh, it's Ryan asked, do you buy into the sapphic vibes between Glinda and Elphaba? Anyone?
Marcelle, I need you to start.
In the movie?
Well, you can answer it however you want. Or I guess that's what your reference point. So yeah, in the movie.
Yeah. So for folks who don't follow me on Instagram, I did an obsessive deep dive in analyzing the lyrics to the song that Elphaba sings, I'm Not That Girl, because I found it too tangential. I found the possibility of her being in love with Fiyero, even though I agree that Jonathan Bailey's characterization of Fiyero leaves me breathless.
He can get it.
He could get it. He could get it. Yeah. It just felt too tangential to the story, which was so clearly about these two women in love with each other. And so, anyway, so what was the question again? Do I buy the set?
Do you buy the sapphic
buy it.
vibes?
It's my whole identity now.
Stay tuned for the Substack that Marcelle's going to write.
Totally. What I was going to say is the way that I described it to a friend of mine after posting this deep dive on Instagram was, I believe in my heart that John M. Chu said to Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, there's a lot of like queer subtext in this book. Would you like to make it text? And they said, yes. Yes, we will do that. And then they did.
What about you, Zoe, as you relate to the stage musical? Like, do you feel, is that how you've read that?
I don't think it's, I know in the book, like just from what I know about the book, I think there is a lot more subtext in the book, but I just feel like Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel didn't play it very, like with that undertone at all. But then like seeing how Cynthia and Ariana have like talked about the movie, and even like then Kristen Chenoweth said that she always thought that Glinda was a little gay. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe that's just because of me growing up with compulsory heterosexuality that I didn't see it, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know?
That's so real, Zoe.
Like, it wasn't
It
even
is so
an
real.
idea to me
Yeah.
when I was younger. Now, because like
Yeah.
I was into Wicked as a youth, as a middle schooler. Revisiting it now, I feel differently. But as a youth, it was like Fiyero is the center, even though he's like not the center, obviously. It's about the two women.
I feel similarly, Zoe. I feel like, well, I don't know. Now that I've seen the movie, I think that it's much more blatantly queer in the film than it is on stage. I'm a Broadway girly. Like, I was in the trenches. I was watching Lindsay Mendez's Broadway.com vlogs from when she was Elphaba. And like I could do like that thing that gay men do where they close their eyes and listen to different Elphaba riffs, and I can tell you who is who.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Describing that as that thing that gay men do is so
They
funny.
do it.
Funny.
I watched so many of those videos. I watched so many, and they're like Jessica Vosk.
Yeah. That little gasp from the audience in that one riff. Anyway, to me, the stage version is almost like alarmingly heterosexual for being a musical. And I'm not sure if it's because they consistently cast like the only straight men on Broadway as Fiyero that it feels realistic that Elphaba and Galinda will be like so into him.
Because that's how theater dynamics work.
Whatever. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that in like that Jonathan Bailey doesn't have that, because he does. I am a lesbian and I like audibly moaned in the theater. So he has it. You know what I'm saying?
Audibly moaned.
Okay, no, in a sexy way.
He would have liked it. Okay,
He would have been into it. But it is like, it's like that thing that Ariana Grande posted the other day where she was like a picture of Glinda and Fiyero, and the caption was, "She's a lesbian, he's gay. Their 30-year-long relationship will change your perception of love." Like, it's easier for me to believe that that he is a gay man playing straight. I don't really know if any of that made sense, but I guess the point is that I see the sapphic relationship between them more in the movie than on stage. That might also partly do with the fact that Cynthia Erivo is a queer woman,
Yeah.
bringing that experience to the role.
I got like, maybe it's growing up reading Ella Montgomery, but for me, when two girls are best friends, that's gay.
No.
Like, just the
Totally.
premise that you would read a best friendship between two women as platonic is just baffling to me. I'm like, sorry, it's gay for women to be friends. That's gay. It doesn't matter if you're not fucking. It's gay for a woman to be friends with another woman.
Coach is about to have things to say.
The eyes
But
are moving.
when I sort of apply pressure to it, I'm like, cool. So what, like, because not every female friendship reads as queer to me. I think part of it is the intimate shared bedroom, college dormitory
Tickle fights.
storyline, right? Which like places them in this shared space of domestic intimacy. And that's a space that's like frequently associated with like sexual experimentation, the like Glinda dressing Elphaba up. Like, I have just always read this friendship as queer coded. Seeing the musical, listening to the soundtrack, like just the inherent nature of this kind of friendship feels queer to me.
Mm.
Because it's this like foundational for many women, foundational experience of intimacy with another woman that is like often when people come out, you know, in the context like they're university students, they're experimenting with radical politics and giving each other makeovers. Like, we're very, very close to a coming out story here.
Mhm.
So yeah, for me, the movie was just like leaning a little bit further into a thing that I just sort of assumed was the case.
Mhm.
Fellas, is it gay to be friends?
Yes,
It is.
I think I most closely align with you, Hannah, in that where it's kind of like, if that's pretty much always true in the way, intimate, codependent, or like, you know, whatever, deep friendships around, during coming of age, like if that always feels a little queer to me, or it always feels queer period to me. Like, what makes it different? I agree that the movie really leans into it, but to your essay, Marcelle, that will be coming out on our Substack. No. But when I listen to I'm Not That Girl, to me, I still like representation. I know there's like a dearth of queer representation. I do understand that. But I do like representation of like the pains of heteronormativity as it relates to your queer friendships. And to me, it feels really honest that like that like watching Fiyero is where there's a lot of like pain around like I'm not like girl enough for this man, or like I'm not doing girl the way that I'm supposed to for him. And it's not because she wants to be with Glinda in that song. For me, it is so much about her own relationship to like womanhood, or like fitting in, or being the perfect size, quote unquote, or whatever it is. And that kind of speaks to, I happen to know that Malloy Gurr, another Instagram listener, wrote, why don't we just actually make it gay instead of the whispers gay attention? I mean, I know, but why? I roll. And for me, I'm like, I agree with that to a degree. Like, let's make, more gay stories, obviously. But also I'm like, I actually love that we're getting both. Like, and maybe that's because I'm bi, but I just like feel so represented in that.
This movie is actually really important bi representation. That's a great point.
Yeah, like I don't think we lose anything. For me, we don't lose anything by not having them like kiss or something. I'm like, it's so intimate. Like for me, it's not a very romantic story anyway. We're not getting like sex scenes with Fiyero. It is kind of like, it's like romantic in a very specific way. I understand in this part one, So I don't know. Zoe, were you going to say something?
We're going to get into it when they come out with part 2, but For Good, I feel like is a much more like explicitly queer song, because it's like their relationship is like, you are the sky and I am the earth.
Yes.
It's like, so I can't wait for Marcelle to
oh my gosh, you're going to love it, Marcelle.
do her magic with that one.
Unpack that one.
I am going to just sob.
Yeah. I mean, I also, I hear in what you're describing, Coach, and in, Marcelle's close reading of I'm Not That Girl. Like, I think one of the things that's so interesting about that song is that being not that girl is about simultaneously like a kind of gender envy of Galinda, and about sort of a desire to be able to occupy her space within this sort of romantic relationship. And that sort of slipperiness, right, between like, do I want to be you or do I want you, is
gay.
Actually, I think a really queer
gay
experience.
Yeah.
Man, my entire relationship with Loki can be summed up as, do I want you or do I want to be you? It's so confusing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that, we have a question from Witty, Pretty, and Gay. Great.
Appropriate.
Name. Why does musical theater make everyone involved in production so emotional?
Oh my God, because there's literally nothing in the world more emotionally vulnerable than singing to somebody. It's just unbelievably real and raw. Like the heightened emotional intensity of music in general, paired with the visceral experience of being like, I sing in choirs, and the way that like we had our choir Christmas show yesterday, and the way by the end of the choir Christmas show, I would do a murder for any one of those choir members, 50% of whose names I don't know. But like, it's so intensely intimate to just sing in the same space as somebody. And then every once in a while, our director will make us sing while making eye contact. And it's so uncomfortable. And so imagining having spent months on a set with somebody, singing to them while making eye contact is like, yeah, you have to get married at the end of that.
Yeah.
There's no other choice.
You have to hold each other's fingernails.
You have to hold each other's fingernails. It's like, I can't imagine a more intimate experience. It's wild.
That makes perfect sense.
Zoe, do you feel that way with opera singing? Like, does it feel intimate with either the audience or if you're ever singing alongside someone?
It does feel intimate. I mean, I also had a choir concert yesterday, which is very funny. But I think like the choir I'm in is like 90 people, so it's pretty big, but it does feel really intimate to like all be working towards this one thing and all be like wanting the outcome to be really good. And then also like the conductor, I feel like there's that relationship with the conductor where like you're looking at the conductor. Sometimes they look at you and it's just like you and the conductor and like everyone around you. And then when I've done like recital work and it's just like me and a pianist, I feel like that's extremely intimate because you're like kind of doing like a dance or like a duet with this one other person. And I think it's like you're not looking in their eyes because obviously they're behind a piano and you're not like acting out words with them. But I think it's like really profound to find common ground with the like another instrument of like what you want it to sound like. So I agree with Hannah. You kind of have to marry everyone that you play music with. So it's a real issue.
You kind of do.
Yeah. I feel like also I'm not a theater performer. I'm not a singer.
But you're a theater girly.
But I'm a theater girl. That actually is.
And an improviser.
Yeah, I guess. But there's like, I think, I don't know about the rest of you, but I always get very emotional when I see theater, even just as an audience member, because it does feel like you're privy to something very like vulnerable, and just like the swell of music and like a big unified group of voices is very powerful. And I get emotional or tear up when I watch bootlegs of musicals on YouTube, but not so much at movie musical adaptations. And I think that's because there is like even the illusion of live performance. And I know that they were singing live, whatever, but it's like a different vibe. You know what I'm saying? And there's just something about like the experience of being in a crowd of people like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, ...
Well, it's also because like what you're saying, you're like, if you combine both, it's like you're bearing witness to a group of people in service of the same thing. So like that's also like, that's so rare.
Yeah.
And you like want them to pull it off. And like they may not
Yeah.
in every case as well as like they should or whatever, or you want them to, or as much as it emotionally affect you. But even getting to like be privy to it feels intimate, I feel like.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really not surprised by the theater kid energy that they brought to this press tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey folks, thank you so much for listening to part 1 of this Material Concerns episode. Part 2 is available on Patreon at any tier. Just head to patreon.com/ohwitchplease. You'll also find a bunch of other bonuses there, lots of perks to enjoy. I just want to quickly thank you on behalf of the whole Witch Please Productions team for a really wonderful 2024. Doing this work is a highlight for our whole team, and we're really excited for what 2025 will bring. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, and until then, later.